to Judges 6 and 7, and we're still dealing with Gideon and the way things ended up with him and how it kind of relates to the climate today. I'm going to read out of, I've got 2 translations up, and I'll start in Judges 6, chapter 6, verse 11. Then the angel of Yah came and sat under the pistachio tree in Ophrah that belonged to Joash, which is Gideon's father. His son Gideon was threshing wheat in the winepress in order to hide it from Midian. And of course, by quick review, we know the Midianites were giving the Israelites all they wanted and then some. And for 7 years, they made life very unpleasant, to say the least. The angel in 12, the angel of Yah appeared to him and said to him, "You valiant hero, Yahweh is with you." "Excuse me, sir," answered Gideon, "but if Yah is with us, then why is all this happening to us?" And you know, even today with the craziness that's going on, you know, those that are of the household of faith, they're kind of wondering what is going on here. You know, everything seems to be under some type of attack. I from time to time, I watch a lot of YouTube, but it's because of some of the information that you can get. But, you know, they're always trying to show you something that they think, I guess, that you'd be interested in. And I've noticed a lot of athletes, entertainment people are kind of going at each other. And I mean, I know it's a political season, so we expect the politicians and those running for public office to do what they do. But I mean, I tuned in to find out it was a football player, and I don't want to call his name, and then there was an actor who both have done remarkably well in their stated fields. And of course, the football player has turned like a host, so to speak, and he had the actor on, and it was supposed to be, just one of those what we call softball interviews, but it turned. It got pretty intense, and the actor has been around quite a while, and while he has done very well in Hollywood, he has never really been about Hollywood. Yes, that's where he honed his craft, and he's had a lot of negative things to say about some of the goings on in Hollywood, and he was saying that it's still a shame that even today, some actors and actresses are still having a hard time, getting roles and things of this nature. And he's very accomplished. And for whatever reason, the football player seemed to take the viewpoint, and this is something that goes on in our culture a lot. The long and short of it was the football player was laying it out like this. Listen, and he didn't say it exactly this way, but that's the way it came across. Basically, man, you've made a lot of money making movies. And I noticed lately you've had a lot of negative things to say about Hollywood. And it was kind of like you biting the hand that feeds you from the football player's perspective. And the actor who has, he's more than an actor. He's much more than an actor. He had an encounter with Justice Roberts because he was acting on behalf of a judicial ruling, and Justice Roberts gave him a pretty hard time, but this brother was so sharp, he did his homework, he knew what he was talking about. He wasn't just a famous actor trying to use his acting clout. He was better than most attorneys with his presentation. And long and short of it, Justice Roberts apologized because he underestimated this actor. And they went around on this circuit, and they didn't debate, but they gave the different aspects of the bill that he was talking about. And this actor, basically, he looks at life, it's either right or it's wrong. And that's how he lives. But getting back to the tenseness with the football player, when he said what he said, the actor told him, well, yeah, you might see it that way, and you might say it that way. However, what I got was earned. I wasn't given anything. And he said it, and it's a shame that we've got to have this dissertation today because we're having this very conversation today because things really haven't changed. And then he said some things which inferred that are you being a spokesperson for somebody else, or is this coming from you? See, a lot of times, particularly in our culture, this thing with assimilating, some assimilate, some assimilate differently from others. Some might say better. And we were talking about earlier about how sometimes we are so loyal to our employer. And so the way that this football player came at the actor was saying, are you carrying water for your employer in a roundabout way? And when it's in our culture, what the implication is. And so then he got heated. They didn't come to blows, they didn't come to blows, but the actor eventually left the set. And I was kind of taken aback because really you would have thought, because I think Denzel, that actor lives in New York, and this football player played for the Giants. And he's a star, he in the Hall of Fame. And I was like, man, I'm sure they probably ran around and all of this, which may have been why it caught. It was surprising that it got that tense, but that's not only going on in our culture, that's going on everywhere. It's everybody's on edge. It seems everybody's on edge. And I mean, if you don't say good morning a certain way, someone like, what you say? I just said good morning. And, you know, I'm hoping that the guys can work it out other than working it out in the parking lot. Which brings me back to Gideon. See, when the messenger of the Most High addressed him, you know, we know in reading another version, Gideon, thou mighty man of valor. And Gideon was like, what? You know, and in some translations, Gideon said, hey, you know, I'm the youngest in my family, and I'm basically a nobody, and I'm, you know, in fact, one translation, they said that Gideon said, well, everybody knows Gideon's an ass, you know. And I'm saying that because, see, a lot of times when the Most High calls you, he's calling you because he's calling you. And in this society, there's so much self-promotion going on. It's sickening. It's in the church. It's on the job. It's in the grocery store. You know, everybody wants to tell you how great they are. But if, you know, in looking at the scriptures, every time, you know, the Most High either sent a messenger or he came, like you think about Moses. See, when you've developed, even because, okay, you've been studying the scriptures for 40 years. Okay, big, wonderful, but at the same time, big deal. So what? See, when we have the privilege of him addressing us, there should be reverence, humility, not, well, y'all, it's about time. That's how some of us are. We think we so deep. We think we got such insight. Peanut butter. And I say peanut butter rather than say a swear word. We are too puffed up in what we think we understand about a infinite, ever-perpetuating entity, and we're finite. All of us got an expiration date. He don't have one. And we need to remember that. So, to make a long story short, the messenger said, hey, mighty man of valor, and he says, hey, me, man, I'm just a low guy. I'm just a weak worm of the dust. And it brings me back to Job, and Job, I mean, all of us have had some bad days. Job had a horrible day. and you know, and even in that, you know, it said he cursed the day he was born. Now, he didn't curse the Most High, but he's like, man, I wish I had never been born. It's that rough. And when the Most High addressed him after Elihu, that young guy, after the three friends, seasoned believers, gave their dissertation, and of course Job addressed all of them. The young guy spoke, and he spoke with more reverence and more humility. He even gave them respect, because he said, I purposely waited until the elders had their say. And then he said, basically, you know, I humbly would like to put my 2 cents in. I'm paraphrasing at this point, but the thing that stood out to me, because I'm always looking at that, and I was talking with my good friend the other day, and he was saying, well, at that point, the Most High asked Job, will you annul my judgment? Now, remember now, Job lost his kids, his stuff. You know, I mean, things just went downhill. His friends came initially to comfort him, and they waited a few days, which was good. But eventually, they begin to kind of, hey, man, for all of this to happen, you done something. And see, we've had people do us that way. Sometimes something not so good happens, and come on, man, you can tell me. I'll just keep it between us. No, something had to happen. He or she, they had to do something. Life just don't go that way, like we are expert in life. And all of us, we're learning every day. And so he said, well, you annul my judgment. And the thing is, eventually when he began to, you know, he asked him the questions that he couldn't answer, but then Job began to realize, he said, listen, in my suffering, I got ornery. You know, and I'm learning to shut my mouth instead of always, and I told you, I didn't lie to you, I am a crybaby dealing with him, because he can do something about it now. Do my tears move him? That's up to him. But Job began to realize in his suffering, some of the humility left. He was frustrated. Moses was frustrated, and again, I realized that displeased the Most High. And again, who am I? I'm not Moses' lawyer. But the people in his environment plucked his nerves. And people pluck our nerves. And we pluck people's nerves. But what we can, even when we get frustrated, even when we get mad, folks, don't lose the reverence. Don't lose the trust. And that element came stronger to me last night and this morning, because wasn't Job the one said, even if he slay me, yet I'll serve him? See, that's real faith. We talk about faith in church. That's real faith. Job was ride or die, even though he was frustrated in his suffering. Gideon, mighty man of valor. Gideon was telling you, listen, man, you know, I'm the kind of guy, a fight break out, I'm going the other way. Gideon would tell you, I'm a weak guy. And the long and short of it, it was told to Gideon, he said, listen, the Most High said, I'm going to be with you, because he told him what he wanted him to do. He said, I'm going to be with you. And right there, we would have thought should have been enough. But in this age of self-promotion, remember this, folks, when he calls you, he qualifies the call. So when he calls you, don't say, why me? Say, thank you. And then you start fretting, well, how are we going to get this done? Because, you know, he told Gideon what he was going to do against the Midianites, and Gideon was like, well, wait a minute now, how this going to get done? I'm the youngest one in my father's household, and I think they was from Manasseh's line. And he was saying, hey, man, I ain't much of a fighter, but these people, they have made our lives rough for all these years. But see, the Most High is saying, if I call you, you're qualified. But see, the trick is we got to do it his way. Follow his instruction. Not start tinkering with, okay, I'm going to do this way, and we get to moving around and doing this and doing that. And sometimes, hey, son, I just told you today. When you look at the scriptures, he gives them piece by piece by piece. It appears, and I haven't read in depth, but it's almost like breadcrumbs. Because, see, some of us are just high-minded enough, no, we do it this way. No, just do it his way. That's what's wrong with the church system. The question was asked last night, even what we call praise and worship. I said, did we ever stop to think, is this all right with you, Father? Or have we gotten so used to, well, when this starts, this supposed to happen, that's supposed to happen, this supposed to happen. It's just like you might make the best apple pie. You might make the best apple pie in Mulberry County. You win the state pie contest every year. But what if some of the judges have tired of apple pie? So, after that little dissertation, Gideon said in 17, he replied, if indeed you favor me, would you mind giving me a sign that it is really you talking with me? Now, sometimes a thought will come to us, do we ever even ask, Father, is that you or is that pizza I ate last night? See, because too many of us, I know that's God. No, sometimes could have been what you ate. It could have been some movie you watch. It could have been part of a conversation you had with somebody else that was a wackadoodle. And now you and him going off in some wild rabbit trail somewhere. And you swear, it's from the very throne of heaven. Be careful with that kind of stuff. He said, if it be you, I need a sign that is you talking with me. Please don't leave until I go and return with a gift and present it to you. He replied, the messenger, I'll wait till you come back. Gideon went in, cooked the young goat, and made matzah from a bushel of flour. He put the meat in, he came back, presented it to him. And then the angel of God said to him, take the meat and the matzah. Of course, he offered it up for a sacrifice. And so Gideon then realized, oh my goodness, I've been in the presence of the Most High. So back then, there always has been said and it's been implied that no flesh shall see God and live. So Gideon thought he was going to die. And then it was said, no, man, you ain't going to die. Why would I call you and then kill you? See, a lot of us, we're confused about, well, okay, how do I carry myself now? Folks, it's crazy now. You know, we are being drawn into something that really didn't have anything to do with us, but yet violence is being attributed to us. Something was said about the HBCUs, and I'm like, what do we have to do with that? And I was saying, I think I said last night, I said, you know, people are so weird and strange. See, some people, the scriptures that they think they understand, they'll think they're helping things out. What we need is a good race war. That's crazy. That's crazy. But see, this is why I'm saying, listen, be careful when you leave your homes, you go to work or whatever. Somebody got accosted in a grocery store about something that it didn't have nothing to do with them. But people are so, folks' nerves are on edge. And when you're already arrogant, you think you can say whatever you want to say to anybody. Be careful doing it. Not that you're doing it, but people, don't be surprised if somebody says something out of the way to you. And don't turn your back on them, just back away from them. Don't turn your back on them, because they might do anything. I'm not being dramatic just to be dramatic. It's getting crazier, if that's possible. Getting back to Gideon. Oh no, my Lord, Yah, because I have seen the angel of Yah face to face. But Yah reassured him, Shalom to you, don't be afraid, you won't die. Then Gideon built an altar and called it Yahweh Shalom, my peace. Now, later on, of course, we know the story. That very night, the Most High spoke to him again. He said, listen to this. Listen to these words. He said, take your father's bull and the other bull, the 7-year-old, destroy the altar to Baal that belongs to your father. What was Abraham's father? But what did he do? All right, there you go. Did Terry give you the answer? No, she been in the club. That's all right. Okay, good to see you. Destroy the altar to Baal that belongs to your father. Cut down the sacred pole next to it and build a proper altar to Yahweh your God on top of this strong point. Then take the second bull and offer it as a burnt offering using the wood of the sacred pole you just cut down. Now he getting ready to rub some people's face. See, sometimes he knows how to rub our face in our mess. And it does stink to the high heavens, but only he can do it in such a way that it still stink. But you go and you suffer the rubbing the mess in your face because it's going to make us better. It's unpleasant to have the mess that we've done brought up again in our face. But sometimes it's necessary. Watch this. Gideon did as he was told, and then it says, when the men of the city got up the next morning, there was the altar of Baal destroyed, the sacred pole cut down, and the second bull, a burnt offering on the newly built altar. They asked each other, who could have done this? But after investigating, they concluded that Gideon, the son of Joash, had done it. And here's what they say. It says, bring out your son, the men of the city demanded of Joash, so that he may die. Because he destroyed the altar of Baal and cut down the sacred pole next to it. Gonna tell his father, bring out your son so we can kill him. And when I read this, I remember, I think I was about the 9th or 10th grade. And my oldest brother had gone up to Randolph to shoot basketball, and a disturbance came out, and I guess fight got going on, and these guys were from another neighborhood, and this out in Glen Allen where I thought the people were refined. I was so glad I moved out to Glen Allen. Oh, these folks know how to carry themselves. Man, you got roughnecks everywhere. I'm telling you, you do, even in gated communities. And Ronnie and another one of the neighbors, first they went to this other guy. His last name was Green too, but he wasn't related to us. And I think his father came out, had a shotgun. And the guys that were after them were driving a car. Ronnie came through the back way, and he made it to our house. And then the car came around. I guess they knew where we lived, but you know, I guess in the civilized communities, everybody know where everybody lived. Here's the thing. My dad was home. I was glad he was home. Danny, Arthur, and me. And Ronnie came in. I think he told my dad what had happened, and the guys was out in the car. So my dad came out, and y'all, oh, Pastor, he's so nice. And he is. There was about 5 or 6 guys in the car. They were all jumbled up in there. And my dad said, well, let me tell it all. Arthur, Danny, my dad, and Ronnie were out there first. Guess where I was? On the telephone, telling lies to somebody's daughter. So my mother, like I told you, don't nothing go on in the greenhouse or outside the greenhouse that she ain't scoping out. So she goes, Barry, get out there, your daddy. Get out there and help your daddy. And I was like, what? So I hung up, got out there, and I run out there, and I heard my dad say, listen, he said, my son will fight any of you one-on-one, but all y'all not jumping on my boy. And then one of the guys in the car said, we can get him too. So it was the 4 green boys and their dad. So it would have been what? 5 on 6. But then my dad looked down in the car, and he said, and he called the guy name. See, there was a golf course, Spring Lake, up the road, and a lot of the guys that played golf did not want the guys from that neighborhood caddying for them. My dad told the guys that, not all of them, but some of the guys were pretty good guys. He said, look, let the guys have a chance to make a little money, caddy and stuff. So when he called the guy name, he said, you in there? And I was glad, because my dad said something like, and after I've done what I've done to get you up at the club, and I think one of the other guys was in there too, but there was a couple of hotheads in the car too, because they just wanted to fight, And, but my dad meant what he said. Ronnie could fight, but he said he'll fight any of y'all one-on-one, but all y'all not jumping on my son. Man, I was so proud. But then, see, I'm telling you this about what grade I was in, because, see, that was at a time where I actually thought my so-called friends meant more than my family. That's how stupid teenage boys can be sometimes. So I'll tell you, man, and long story short, they realized, the guy was like, well, yeah, and they left. I was glad. They left. But see, this thing with when they telling Gideon's father, send your son out so we can kill him. Man, ain't no father worth his salt gonna do that. I didn't say no fathers wouldn't do it. I said no father worth his salt. And so this is how his father responded. And I'm telling you, man, listen, I know we done all had some words with our family, but I'm going to tell you, ain't nothing like family. Ain't nothing, man, I ain't talking about when you get in a little scrape. When the ugly hit the fan, usually only family gonna stay. You'd be surprised how many people bail when they get a little warm. Talk a whole lot of stuff, but that's all they do is talk. Let's look at how this father handled this. He said, well, let me read a little bit. Bring out your son, the men of the city demanded of Joash, so that he may die, because he destroyed the altar of Baal and cut down the sacred pole next to it. But Joash said to all those crowding around him, you're defending Baal, are you? It's your job to save him? Then listen to what he said. Anyone who defends Baal will be put to death before morning. In other words, my son ain't going out like that. I'm not going to sit here eating a turkey sandwich. Man, even if you go down with a guy like that. And they still make men like that today. I don't care what society says. Ain't no good men left. There's plenty good men left. You just need to go to the eye doctor. Anyone who defends Baal will be put to death before morning. And then he says this, if he's a god, let him defend himself. After all, somebody destroyed his altar. Now remember earlier early on, Yah said, destroy that idol that belonged to who? Your dad. Your dad. He asked who? Gideon. The meekest and mildest one of them all. Therefore, on that day, Gideon was given the name Yerubbaal, which means let Baal defend. Because they said, let Baal defend himself against him, since he destroyed his altar. See, a lot of times, man, when danger's circling around, sometimes, fellas, it's time to stand up, not shrink back, not start quoting scripture. Put up your dukes. Sometimes, I'm not promoting violence, but I am saying, listen. And that time is, listen, we got to take a stand. Sometimes in standing in your integrity, look, if you go down swinging, man. Again, I'm not abdicating violence, but it's time for those that say we are a child of the Most High, it's time for us to be like it. And God, lead the time. I ain't even got to where when they get ready to go to war. They getting ready to go to battle. Remember now, Gideon really don't like to fight. He didn't, some people don't even like a confrontation. Sometimes a confrontation doesn't always lead to a fight. You might get a little heated. But some of us, we say, well, I'm just trying to keep the peace. And people keep kicking sand in our face. I don't want to bother nobody. Well, sometimes somebody going to bother you. And most men have been in situations where you might have tried to reason your way out. Some of you have been in physical confrontations and you ended up being best friends with the guy. Well, sometimes you be like, I don't like him, he don't like me, but what you do, you stay away from each other. Now more than ever, all the saints got to stand up, but the men really got to stand up now, more than ever, for real. And I'm not talking about some false male bravado. Be a man of integrity. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And you don't have to do a whole lot of explaining. Yes is pretty simple. No is pretty simple. Well, I demand an explanation. You're not getting one. I've answered your question. Mm, 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 mm. Now, listen to this. Now all Midian, Amalek and the others from the cast joined forces, crossed the Jordan, and set camp in the Yizreel Valley. But then listen to this. But the Spirit of Yah covered Gideon. He sounded the call on the shofar. And see, this is the thing. Even, listen. A lot of times we get, particularly the men, sometimes when you're about to enter a confrontation, yes, you're a little anxious. You might even be a little, I'll use the word, because, guys used to say, I ain't scared. Well, sometimes we are. But, a hero that moves in and does what he or she has to do, they'll tell you, yes, I was afraid, but they did what they had to do. And see, when his presence is upon you and you know he called you, it's time to go. It's time to go. Oh, well, wait a minute, Lord. Let me read one more verse. No, it's time. It's showtime. Even when Gideon broke down when he broke down the ball, he didn't do it during the day. And it said in the scriptures, he didn't do it in the day because he was afraid of what the men would do. But he did it. He did it at night. And he had some help. But if you notice in this thing, now they may have implicated the others too, but in the scripture it looked like only Gideon's name was called. And so why am I saying that? Sometimes you know you've gotten a directive from the Most High, and you say, man, how am I going to do this? How am I? And then sometimes he gives you the grace. If you ain't sure now, wait. But get it done. Get it done. Because you rather have another human being upset with you than the one that made you. So he did it at night. Now the Midianites, they all getting together. And it says that Gideon sounded the call on the shofar. And another fellow rallied behind him. He sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, and they too rallied behind him. So long and short of it, they're getting ready to rumble. And I think it said Gideon had about 32,000. Had 32,000 with him. And of course, the Midianites, I think they were around 100 and maybe 120-some thousand. 32,000 versus 120-some thousand. But remember, the Most High said, I'm going to be with you. And so in the next chapter, it starts talking about the Most High, and I'm skipping. The Most High told him, hey, Gideon, man, you got too many. With all of them guys. Now, Gideon, wait a minute. Y'all, I can add. I got 32,000. They got 125,000. And you say I got too many? And I'm paraphrasing, he basically said, yeah, I told you I'm with you. I tell you what, I'm gonna run a little experiment. And this is where I want to definitely talk to the men. Most High says, listen, 32,000, that's too many. And y'all be thinking, when I bring victory, y'all think y'all did it. And you'll forget that I'm the one that did it, which he would be. He said, I tell you what, for all the guys that's afraid, let them go home. And see, a lot of times you hear, well, Pastor, I'm with you. I can't tell you the times I heard my dad. I heard people tell my dad that. And then when it was time to get something done, where they at? And that same kind of apathy is still prevalent today. So he says, Most High said, hey, look, man, Gideon, you got too many. And you know what? Their intent was good. They showed up. But I'm going to tell you, some of them don't have the heart for this. So here's what you do. All of those that are afraid, let them go. You know how many left? 20,000. Maybe 22,000. 22,000 went home and put their head in Delilah's lap. No shade to Delilah. I know somebody say, yeah, right. 20-some thousand went home. 22,000 men returned, but 10,000 remained. Yah said to Gideon, there are still too many. Have them come down to the water, and there I will screen them for you. So now Gideon's saying, well, okay. Well, I still got 10,000. We can do this. We can do this. Yah said, no, Gid, you still got too many. So of the 22,000 that admitted they were afraid and left, how many of that 10,000 you think were still afraid but stayed? I can only imagine in times of war, everybody's a little afraid. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just do what you got to do, what your training call you to do. So he says, I will screen them for you. If I say of anyone, this one is for you, he will go with you. And if I say, this one is not for you, he won't go with you. So he brought the people down to the water, and Yah said to Gideon, put to one side everyone who laps up water with his tongue, the way a dog does, and put to the other side everyone who gets down on his knees to drink. See, some of us, we done got so now, like I said, because we live in a pretty nice house, we got a couple of nice vehicles, we got a nice suit of clothes, we think we sophisticated and we think we high class. But I remind you, your ancestors did not come over here on the Riviera. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a nice place, nice cars, nice clothes, nice stuff. Nothing wrong with that. But don't ever lose your edge that you can't be ready to go to war on behalf of the Most High. We've become too sophisticated. Well, I don't do that now. I sat under, so what? Peanut butter. It's sickening. I'm not going to run over it. Mm. Mm. Put to one side everyone who laps up water with his tongue the way a dog does, and put to the other side everyone who gets down on his knees to drink. We so sophisticated. We so sophisticated. And then we borrowing from people. Well, I don't want, that'll start a race war. But everybody's trying to be nothing wrong with having aspirations in life. Nothing wrong with that. But all of a sudden, you drinking tea with your pinky up. Where you get that from? Missionaries came over and we were eating with our hands, and they taught us to eat with silverware. So now we're sophisticated. And so now we get, I've got too much going on to be of assistance. Oh, really? You want to watch it turn up even worse? Keep being derelict in your responsibilities. Being a child of the Most High is more than just a title. There's a responsibility that goes along with that. And it's more than getting dressed up and coming to church. I see it. Mm. 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 300 lapped, putting their hand to their mouth. All the rest got down on their knees to drink water. Now, I know in the Boy Scouts, they used to teach us, Arthur and I, we didn't get past Weeblo. We won't get in anyway, but, you know, my mother made us get in, but we got in. But they used to teach you, if it was a running brook, you get a rock and you set it down in the brook, and you let the water run over the rock, and you could drink. I never tried it. You could drink the water that ran over the rock, but you basically had to get down on your knees to do that. Y'all said, no, I want the men that's going to lap it up like a dog. And see, now I'm going to be the first to say this. That's where all the athletes said, if you ain't got no dog in you, you can't be on my team. But that's not where they didn't get it from there. But I just thought I'd say that. See, sometimes with our education, with our having arrived, we think we're too sophisticated. And that's a dangerous thing, man. That's a dangerous thing. Because I'm going to tell you, when you that sophisticated, you soft and you ripe for the picking. Let me say that again. You think you that sophisticated, you ripe for the picking. The guys that got down on their knees to drink water, y'all say, I can't use them. The guys that got down there, scooped it up and lapped it like a dog lap, I can use them. I'm going to close there, but there's more going on. But I'm telling you, sometimes it's like the Most High is saying, hey, Barry, do you have some dog in you, or have you gotten so used to the soft life? You've become so sophisticated, you have no savor in your salt. What did he say he would do to salt with no savor? So all of these highbrow, sophisticated peanut butter better get back in the gym. You better remember where you really come from. And that's what I said, and I'm going to close. What would our ancestors think of us if they saw us today? What would they think of us? What would they think of us? Considering how we living and how we doing and what they went through. What do you think they'd think of us? Saints, I'm not saying we got to be ready to go to war. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to realize that living kingdom takes work. W-O-R-K. And that's whether you still employed or whether you retired. Kingdom living takes work. Now, I'm not saying it's got to be grueling every day, but please don't fall into that vein where you think that you're not going to have to gird yourself and be ready just in case he called on you. Not now, y'all. I'm scheduled to go to down there. I'm sailing down to Riviera next month. Check with me when I get back. We too busy for him? What we got going on in our lives is so whatever. Not now. I'm dealing with this. Boy, you've been dealing with that for 50 years. Saints, let's get back in the gym. And we don't have to train like we training for the Olympics. But we do have to start training because you never know. That head coach may call your number. And we want to be ready when he, bang, get in there. We ought to jump off the bench and get in there. Well, Coach, I was talking to my agent, and you haven't renewed my contract yet. This is my contract year. We have busied ourselves with too many other things. And they have become, those things, even the situations, be careful because they can become an idol. And I ain't fussing. And I'm talking to me too. This is us. This is another us discussion. God bless you. I hope you come back another day.